Hey guys, tonight we drift beneath the swaying date palms of ancient Mesopotamia. The air is thick with the scent of river silt and crushed figs, and a soft breeze rustles through the reeds lining the canal. Somewhere nearby, a farmer slaps mud around the base of a barley stalk, muttering about too much sun and not enough divine mercy. The water channels glitter like silver ribbons in the moonlight, and far above you, scattered like dropped lentils on a dark cloth, the stars flicker. It's peaceful, sure, but make no mistake, if you actually lived here, between the sudden floods, unpredictable gods, and the occasional wild lion, you probably wouldn't survive this week. Still, for tonight, you're safe. You have the stars overhead, the soft hush of the river, and the warm hum of old stories. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know, where are you watching from? And what time is it for you right now? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit on a low, mud brick wall, bare feet dangling over the edge, warmed from the day's sun. A bowl of sour goat's milk sits forgotten beside you as you stare up, mesmerized. It's not just stars. It's a message board for the gods. Or at least that's what you've been told. The elders say that every flicker, every slow crawl of a star across the black sea above is a sign. Not from some abstract force of nature, but from actual gods, lounging up there with serious opinions about your life. Behind you, the soft murmurs of evening chores drift through the dark. Someone scraping a pot, someone else singing an old lullaby with way too many verses. You lean back and spot one particularly bright star, low on the horizon. That one, they say, is associated with Nergal, god of the underworld. Comforting. Still, even with death gods twinkling above, the night wraps around you like a warm blanket. The stars seem alive, watching, whispering. The idea that the heavens are sending messages isn't fringe here. It's fact. Everyone from priests to farmers adjusts their day by what the sky says at night. Fun fact, the earliest recorded star charts come from this very land. The Babylonians, who, let's face it, were basically Mesopotamia's type A overachievers, created insanely detailed astronomical records on clay tablets. We're talking 4,000 years ago. While some civilizations were still trying to figure out how to grow a decent onion, these folks were naming planets and plotting the movement of Venus. Of course, that doesn't mean they got everything right. There's a scribe in your neighborhood who once declared an eclipse meant a plague was coming. The next week, his house caught fire, not because of divine wrath, but because he forgot he left an oil lamp next to a goat. But people still blame the stars. You lie back on the roof now, which is flat and cool. Most houses are single-story, and everyone sleeps up top when the nights get too hot. It's the best place for stargazing and light gossip. Your neighbor to the left just got married, and you're pretty sure they didn't check the lunar calendar. Scandalous. Somewhere, a flute whines gently in the distance. A dog barks, twice, then thinks better of it. You let your mind drift with the wind and the starlight. The air tastes like burnt fig leaves and river salt. You know the constellations, not like modern ones with names like Pisces or Gemini, but the old ones. The Plow, the Scorpion, the Old Man. Your favorite is the Great Twins. Not because it's lucky or anything, just because one of them always looks like he's about to trip over a cloud. You once asked a priest why the stars don't fall down. and he told you they're held up by invisible ropes knotted to the dome of the sky. Sounds like a stretch, but honestly, who's going to climb up there to fact check? The truth is, even now, historians still argue whether the ziggurat was a temple or an astronomical observatory. Some say priests used the height to be closer to the gods. Others, they think it was all about the stars, measuring angles, mapping patterns, timing festivals. And why not both? The gods weren't exactly known for making things simple. Suddenly, a low thud in the distance, a gate shutting, or maybe the night watch starting their rounds. You roll onto your side and peer over the edge. Across the canal, a scribe walks alone, cradling something in his arms, probably a fresh clay tablet or a particularly moody cat. He pauses, looks up at the sky like he's waiting for it to blink first, and then mutters a line of prayer. You catch only part of it, something about the Eye of Ishtar and paths unseen. The gods have more poetic job descriptions than civil servants, that's for sure. Did you know some Mesopotamians believed that the stars themselves were divine beings, not messengers, drifting around like tiny boat lanterns on the cosmic river? If one blinked out, it meant something died. Somewhere, someone, something. Maybe a king, maybe a bug. Depends who you asked. You squint up again. One particular star near the eastern edge seems to shimmer differently. You convince yourself it's winking at you. Could be Saturn, or maybe just a bit of gunk in your eye. A shooting star streaks by, silent and fast. You suck in your breath. Those? Big deal. They're often seen as direct messages, or insults. Depends on the trajectory. If it shoots toward a city, that's bad. If it flies over water, neutral. If it zips west to east, some say that means the gods are moving backward. That can't be good. You once heard an old woman mutter that a star danced backward the night her goat gave birth to twins. Weirdly, both goats turned out fine, so maybe the gods were just in a playful mood. You shift, the clay roof warm beneath you, and watch as a few more stars peek out. There's something deeply soothing about it, even if you know half these stories are probably exaggerated. The thing is, no one here separates science from religion, from storytelling. It's all the same sky, the same stars, the same urgent question. What are they trying to tell us? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. You pull your tunic tighter as a breeze rolls in from the river, bringing the smell of wet reeds and something vaguely fishy. A dog howls, far away, long and low. Then silence again. Your eyelids start to droop, but you fight it, just a little longer. There's something about this moment, like if you stare long enough, if you just listen, you'll finally understand the pattern in the flicker, the secret in the shimmer, the message from the stars. The ziggurat waits in the fading light, casting a long, lazy shadow across the city like a giant reclining on its side. You stare up at it, this man-made mountain of sun-baked bricks, rising higher than anything else in sight, except the sky. The scent of burning cedar wafts from its summit, faint but unmistakable. Someone's already begun the evening rituals. You start your climb slowly, bare feet pressing into the worn grooves of the stone steps. Each one is slightly different. Some cracked, some crooked, some slippery with dust. There's no handrail, of course, just the occasional palm frond wedged into a crevice, left by pilgrims or bored teenagers with a flair for flair. From down here, the ziggurat looks solid, ancient, permanent. But as you ascend, you notice how much it shifts underfoot. Bricks flake, Mortar crumbles. You don't say anything out loud. Why tempt the gods? Besides, it's bad form to complain when climbing what might be a stairway for planets. The wind picks up halfway to the top, tugging at your tunic and whistling between the stones. You pause, looking back over the rooftops of now bathed in lavender twilight. Smoke drifts lazily from cooking fires. Somewhere, a child is yelling about a stolen melon. Normal stuff, until you look higher. The sky's shifting fast now, inky blue bleeding upward, streaked with gold like smeared honey. Stars begin to appear, one by one, deliberate and slow, as if they're waking up. You wonder if they stretch in the morning. A priest passes you on the stairs without speaking, clutching a woven basket full of offerings. Inside, you glimpse a pomegranate split open, its seeds glistening like tiny blood-red gems. You once tried to sneak a bite of one during a festival and got swatted with a papyrus scroll. Apparently, celestial fruit is not for snacking. When you reach the top, your breath is short, and your legs feel like barley stalks swaying in the wind. The air is thinner here, crisper. You step onto the wide platform that crowns the ziggurat, and suddenly the city feels far away. Up here, it's just you, the stars, and a suspiciously large bronze brazier that smells like regret. You aren't alone. A young woman kneels beside the brazier, her hair braided with strands of lapis lazuli, murmuring something rhythmic. She glances at you once, just enough to acknowledge, not enough to invite conversation. The priest from earlier places the basket beside her, then turns to the edge and looks up. He begins to hum. Not a melody exactly, more like a vibration. You feel it in your chest before you hear it with your ears. The others on the platform, 3 more figures you hadn't noticed, join in, one by one, each adding a note until the whole ziggurat seems to resonate like a tuning fork. And then you feel it. That hum, low, steady, strangely comforting, echoing not just through the stones beneath you, but up into the sky. It's as if the whole structure is a massive antenna, tuned to frequencies only the gods, and maybe one really smart goat, can understand. Here's the kicker. Historians still argue whether the ziggurat was a temple or an astronomical observatory. Some claim the uppermost level held a small sanctuary for moon worship. Others insist it was designed with star alignments in mind, its staircases built to point towards certain constellations during solstices. Frankly, both theories make sense, especially when you're standing up here with the stars practically licking your eyelashes. There's a theory, quirky, definitely fringe, that the ziggurat was actually meant to hum, that its angles, the ratio of its levels, even the placement of bricks, were designed to create subtle vibrations when the wind passed through, like a giant musical instrument for the sky. The Mesopotamian pan flute, if you will. You step closer to the edge and look up. The stars are fully awake now, sprinkled thick across the dome of the night. You spot Sirius, bright and sharp. Then Aldebaran, warm and steady. The 7 sages, those stars you're not supposed to look at too long or you'll go mad, twinkle faintly, like they're in on some joke you'll never quite get. Suddenly, a small metallic clink. One of the kneeling figures is holding up a polished disc, a bronze mirror etched with symbols. He's using it to reflect starlight onto a nearby wall. Not for lighting, no. He's tracking movement. One star in particular. It's wandering, he whispers. You recognize the voice. It's the city's chief astronomer. He's not supposed to be here tonight, which means this isn't just a ritual. It's a watch, The star he's tracing isn't really a star at all. It's a planet, one of the five known to move differently from the fixed stars. This one, probably Jupiter, is sliding across the sky just a hair off from where it should be. Unusual timing, the astronomer mutters. Could mean a war or a wedding. Those two are weirdly close together in Mesopotamian astrology. You try to look intelligent, like you totally grasp the implications of celestial drift. But your mind's mostly focused on not sneezing from all the incense. The priest gestures for silence, not that anyone's talking, and pulls out a thin clay tablet. It's covered in tiny wedges of cuneiform. He places it on a low pedestal and waits, watching the stars as if they might blink out a message like a divine Morse code. Then it comes, a shooting star, fast, white hot, and loud. You swear it sizzles. The group gasps. One of the kneeling women clutches her lapis braids like they're prayer beads. The priest frowns. The astronomer doesn't blink. An answer? He says finally, voice barely audible. But not to the question we asked. Classic. The ritual ends without fanfare. One by one, the figures rise, bow toward the stars, and file back down the steps, silent as shadows. You linger a moment longer, unwilling to break the spell. Above, the stars burn quietly, smug as always. You wonder if they know how much power humans have given them, how entire wars, coronations, harvests, and marriages are decided by their flicker. And yet, they just float there, indifferent, beautiful, possibly sarcastic. You begin your descent, the wind now behind you. The ziggurat no longer feels like a stairway to the sky. It feels like something alive, humming, watching, waiting. You make it down the ziggurat steps just as the city settles fully into night. Oil lamps flicker along narrow alleyways like grounded stars, and a donkey brays somewhere behind a curtain of hanging reed mats. The scent of fried onions and lentils drifts past your nose, strong enough to make your stomach grumble. As you walk, you notice that people aren't just winding down, they're watching the sky. Not openly, not like stargazers at a picnic. No, these are careful glances, tucked between bites of bread or long pauses in conversation. Old men lean on door frames, pretending to discuss grain prices while keeping an eye on Orion's belt, though here it's not Orion. It's the loyal shepherd of heaven, a constellation thought to guard travelers and those lost in thought. You pass a small shrine near a public fountain. It's no bigger than a chicken coop, painted with ochre and blue, and perched with little figurines, a lion, a star, a tiny bronze bow. Someone's placed a fresh fig and a smear of honey there. Offerings, probably for Nana, the moon god. Or maybe Ishtar. Hard to tell with these dual-purpose shrines. A boy sits nearby, carving something into a clay tablet with a stylus. He doesn't look more than 12, but the seriousness on his face makes him seem ancient. You peer over his shoulder. He's copying a star omen from a larger tablet. Something about the position of Mars and impending famine. Cheerful stuff. He glares at you, then softens when you offer a date from your pouch. He accepts it, but only after he finishes the last wedge mark. You keep moving, drawn by the pull of the river. It murmurs, like a sleeping giant in the distance. But before you get there, you pause at the School of Scribes. This isn't your usual classroom. It's a long mud brick building with an open roof and walls lined with baskets of drying tablets. There's no homework in the modern sense, just endless repetition of knowledge so important it must be baked into eternity. Inside, a teacher's lecturing by lamplight. You hear the word Venus mentioned, though they call her Dilbat. She's not just a planet here. She's Ishtar, goddess of love and war. The students chant back her movements in unison. Rises in the east before the sun, disappears for 3 days, reemerges in the west. It sounds more like a poem than astronomy. Here's something curious. Ancient Mesopotamians didn't just observe the heavens, they cataloged them obsessively. We're talking series after series of tablets, some spanning centuries, detailing eclipses, star risings, and planetary alignments. They had tables predicting the movements of Venus hundreds of years in advance, long before telescopes or calculators. And then there's this fringe gem. Some scholars believe Mesopotamian star watchers may have used early mechanical devices, wooden gears or rotating dials, to track the motion of celestial bodies. Think of it as a Babylonian iPad, but made from sticks and math anxiety. You slip past the school and finally reach the riverbank, where the Euphrates glows under starlight like molten silver. The current is slow tonight, its surface unbroken, except for the occasional drifting reed or curious frog. You find a spot beneath a sycamore fig tree and stretch out, your fingers playing with the damp grass. Above you, the stars reflect softly on the water, like a second sky trying to keep up. Suddenly, you remember something the astronomer said once during a market stroll. He claimed that the river was a mirror for the sky, that what happened up there echoed down here, and vice versa. He called it, as above, so below. You weren't sure if he was quoting scripture or just trying to impress the date vendor, but it stuck with you. You look up again. The sky has shifted since you left the ziggurat. The bull of heaven, what later cultures will call Taurus, has just crested the horizon. It's massive, even imagined, and somehow comforting in its predictability. Near it, you spot a dim flicker. Not a star this time, a tiny lamp, floating on a reed raft. A ritual offering, perhaps. Some families send them downriver when they lose a loved one, hoping the gods will receive the light and carry it skyward. You watch it bob quietly along the current, the flame steady even in the breeze. Another flash draws your eye to the left, a second lamp, then a third. You sit up. Someone's holding a release ceremony. That means a death, or a birth, or both. You tiptoe toward a small group gathered on the bank. They're dressed in dark wool, faces lit only by the little raft flames. An older woman holds a baby wrapped in linen, and beside her, a clay tablet rests in a shallow bowl of water, softening. You've seen this before. They'll let the tablet dissolve to release the words, sending the soul of the departed along with the prayer. One man whispers, "The stars will guide her safely." Another adds, "She returns through the gate of Enlil." It's not sad, not exactly. More like reverent. The belief that the sky receives us, not just our hopes and omens, but our actual selves, is deeply embedded here. You feel your own breath catch, just for a moment, as the baby lets out a sharp cry, and the last lamp flickers away into the dark. You back away quietly, not wanting to disturb the moment. On your walk back, you notice a group of teenagers gathered in a courtyard. One of them, tall and cocky, points to a bright cluster in the southern sky. "That one," he says, "means I'm going to marry a priestess and never have to shovel dung again." Everyone laughs, including you. Another kid points at a different constellation. "That one looks like your nose." More laughter. A guard passing by gives them a stern look, but even he cracks a smile. You find your way to a rooftop again. Not your own, but it doesn't matter. Roofs are communal here, especially for sleeping. Someone's left a jug of water and a cushion. You make yourself at home, letting your eyes settle again into the sky's slow dance. Back above, Saturn continues its crawl. Mars gleams red with secrets. The Milky Way swirls faintly, just a breath of white. You realize something. Out of all the civilizations that will rise and fall, Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, us, it's the Mesopotamians who first tried to write down what the stars were saying. Not just who they were or what they looked like, but what they meant. You yawn, wide and slow. It's late now, but up there, the stars are just getting started. They'll keep whispering long after you fall asleep. You wake to the faint clatter of hooves on stone, a bray from a stubborn donkey, and, somehow, a rooster, who clearly didn't read the memo about dawn still being a good hour off. The rooftop is cool and quiet. Somewhere nearby, water sloshes gently in a clay jug, stirred by a breeze. But overhead, the stars haven't budged much. You stretch, yawn, and scan the heavens like you've done it all your life. It's a funny thing, how quickly stargazing has become habit. How the constellations feel less like abstract symbols and more like neighbors. Familiar, predictable, slightly judgmental. Somewhere to your east, the faintest glow of morning begins to uncurl behind the horizon. But before the day chases the stars away, you head back toward the temple quarter, specifically a much less glamorous building near the base of the ziggurat. It's where the priest astronomers store their clay tablets, the star library. No grand facade, no marble columns, just a squat, sun-dried brick rectangle that smells like dust and dried fish. But inside, it's magic. You step through the low doorway and into the narrow, cool space. Racks line the walls, wooden slats stacked with trays of cuneiform tablets, each one a tiny universe of symbols. There are drawers for eclipses, shelves for comet sightings, even a whole corner dedicated to lunar omens, because apparently the moon has moods, and we should all take them seriously. A young apprentice greets you with a sleepy nod. He's got ink smudged on his cheek, and what might be a date pit tangled in his hair. You like him immediately. Looking for the Venus records, he asks, already shuffling toward a side table. We just copied the latest cycle. Ishtar's dancing backward again. And she is. The planet Venus appears to move backward through the sky at times, a phenomenon called retrograde motion. Ancient Mesopotamians didn't just notice this, they built entire narratives around it. When Ishtar turned back, they interpreted it as a sign. Maybe she was displeased. Maybe she was planning something. Maybe she was just having one of those weeks. The apprentice hands you a newly baked clay tablet, still warm from the fire pit. Tiny, wedge-shaped impressions march across its surface in precise rows, tracking the planet's rise and set times for the next several months. You imagine the priesthood arguing over the placement of a single mark. The cosmic version of grammar snobs. Some of the tablets in this room go back generations, carried from city to city during wars, hidden in baskets when rivers flooded, passed from priest to priest like divine relay batons. It's easy to romanticize, but the truth is messier. You find one tablet with a correction scratched right across it. Wrong star. Start over. Even the gods, it seems, allow for rough drafts. You crouch near a window slit and peek out. Dawn's breath has begun to color the horizon, but the stars still glimmer faintly above the rooftops. One in particular draws your gaze, a lone bright point hanging low in the eastern sky. Sirius, the dog star. It's not native to this sky, not always visible here, but its arrival is a big deal. In Egypt, it signaled the Nile's flooding. Here, it means heat, change, tension. You whisper its name like a secret, Kak Sisa. There's a tablet on one of the high shelves labeled Kak Sisa, appears during rainfall. You climb up, only slightly afraid of toppling like a human cuneiform domino, and retrieve it. The surface is worn, but legible. It reads like a journal entry, detailing a rare conjunction between Sirius and Jupiter. The entry ends with a single line. The city heard voices in the irrigation ditches that night. You sit with that thought for a moment, not terrified, just intrigued. Some archaeologists say these star logs weren't always literal. That many were poetic, symbolic, like dreams baked into clay. Others argue they were deadly serious, a way to map divine intention and keep cities safe. Historians still debate whether these records were science, religion, or something stranger. Coded storytelling meant to be read by both humans and gods. There's even a theory that some of these tablets were not just for the present generation, but time capsules for future sky watchers. As if the priest knew someone, maybe even you, would be reading them under a different sky someday, long after the last temple bell had quieted. Back outside, the air has warmed slightly. You walk past the vendor stalls preparing for market. The fig lady has set out her best, ripest stock, glistening with dew. She nods at you as you pass, then points upward. You follow her gaze. The stars are fading fast, and the moon is a ghostly smear in the bluing sky. But one planet still holds firm, Venus. She shines bright and defiant just above the horizon. Ishtar's watching, the fig lady says with a grin. Then under her breath, she sees everything, even the things we bury. You raise an eyebrow. Like figs? She winks. Like lies. You make your way back toward the ziggurat, passing a group of shepherds heading out of the city. One of them carries a small bronze mirror tied with twine to the shaft of his staff. You ask what it's for. To check if the stars follow me, he says, half joking. Then more seriously, or if I've strayed from their path. Another shepherd adds, the stars aren't just above. They're behind you too. They mark your footprints. That sticks with you as you climb the side stairs of the temple again. Not to the top this time, just the mid-tier, where the priests drink date wine and consult tablets like tired librarians. You sit on the edge of the wall and look out. The city breathes. Birds begin to shout over rooftops. A fire is lit for morning offerings. Somewhere, someone drops a pot and swears with the passion of a poet. But above it all, just for a few seconds, Venus still holds her place, watching, waiting, burningly bright. The apprentice from earlier joins you, offering a half-burned scroll he found tucked between two storage jars. It's full of scribbled predictions, planetary transits, and one very strange line. When Jupiter hides behind the moon, do not touch barley for 3 days. You both stare at it. Should we listen? You ask. He shrugs. Better safe than haunted. The sun finally tips over the eastern wall and spills golden light across the city. The stars are gone, but you know they're still there, just hidden by the noise of day. And soon enough, they'll return, with more messages, more riddles, and probably more warnings about barley. The sun rises like a molten wheel, painting the rooftops in shades of amber and rust. You descend from the temple's middle tier just as the city exhales its first full breath of day. Ur is alive again, full of footsteps, voices, and the unmistakable clank of a merchant trying to reassemble his collapsed stall. You wander into the market square, not because you need anything, but because that's where the stories collect. Carts groan under baskets of barley, dates, and dried fish. Cloth vendors unfurl bolts of deep blue linen dyed with indigo and probably not toxic minerals. A little girl tries to trade 2 onions for a piece of glass she swears is a fallen star. You can't help it. You stop. It came from the sky, she insists, holding it out like a sacred object. And sure enough, it does shimmer with an unnatural glow. Turns out, ancient Mesopotamians sometimes found meteorites and believed them to be pieces of the heavens, messages hurled from the gods. These stones weren't just marvels, they were omens, sometimes ground into powder for rituals or placed beneath temple foundations for cosmic stability. One king allegedly had a dagger forged from one, because nothing says divine right to rule like stabbing your enemies with sky metal. The girl presses it into your palm. Only 1 onion, she whispers, winking. You give her 2. Fair's fair. As you tuck the strange glassy shard into your belt pouch, your eyes are drawn to a loud debate near the astrologer's booth. A crowd has gathered. A priest in a high conical headdress holds up a star tablet like a legal decree, while a second man, a grizzled herdsman with sunburned arms, points aggressively at the sky. They're wrong. The Red Wanderer crossed before dawn. It crossed after. Your sheep dreams don't override divine record keeping. Apparently Mars, the Red Wanderer, has moved into an unexpected position, and no one can agree on whether it portends war, floods, or just another bad planting season. A woman chimes in. Last time this happened, my cousin's chickens all laid sideways. You smile. It's not mockery, it's awe. These people live with the sky. It's not background, it's bureaucracy, weather report, religious text, and gossip column all rolled into one. Still, the disagreement gets loud enough that a city scribe steps in to review the evidence. You watch as he unrolls a dusty star chart on a reed mat. The thing's huge, more tapestry than tablet. It's got constellations, moon phases, colored inks, and little annotations like bad luck for goats and do not travel west. He traces the path of Mars with a long reed pointer. It crossed before dawn, he declares finally, with the smug confidence of someone who's never been wrong and has no plans to start now. The crowd groans. The herdsman shakes his fist, but no one throws a fig. So you figure that counts as a peaceful resolution. You drift from the crowd and follow your curiosity down a quieter lane lined with palm trees and old stone houses. A woman calls down from a rooftop. You look like someone who's lost a god. You wave back, maybe just misfiled one. She laughs and tosses you a warm date. You find yourself heading toward the river again, guided by instinct more than intention. On the way, you pass the House of Ritual Healers, a low, ivy-covered building that smells like herbs and wood smoke. You remember hearing something odd about the healers here. They sometimes diagnose patients based on celestial events. Bad dreams? Blame Saturn. Sudden rash? Must be Mercury in descent. A goat staring at you with malice? Probably just a goat, but better double check with the moon. Inside, you see shelves lined with jars, some filled with roots, others with dried insects, and one labeled Tears of Ishtar that looks suspiciously like regular water. A young woman with ink-stained hands sits by a fire, reading a palm. Ah, she says, without looking up. You've seen the dog star recently. You blink. How did you? It's on your aura, she replies. Or your shirt. Could be both. She scribbles a note on a clay fragment. Subject, visited celestial archive, carries stardust fragment, light lunar imprint. Then she nods to you like she solved a riddle and waves you away before you can ask more. You leave feeling both seen and deeply confused. Down by the riverside, boats skim across the water with slow grace. Some carry fish, others carry priests. A few carry both, which always seems risky, depending on the god's mood. You sit under a tamarisk tree and take out the sky shard the little girl gave you. It glows faintly in your hand, even in daylight. You wonder what people thought the first time they saw something fall from the sky. Really fall, in fire and fury, splitting the night open. Imagine the fear, the awe, the narratives, and then the aftermath. Someone brave enough to walk up to the crater, pick up a piece of what they thought was God's bone, and say, "Yeah, I'm keeping this." There's a story, more legend than fact. But hey, we're in Mesopotamia, about a high priest who claimed to receive instructions from the stars through a meteorite. He said it hummed when the gods were pleased and cracked when they were angry. He kept it in a reed basket lined with gold thread and only opened it on moonless nights. Eventually, the stone disappeared, and some say it returned to the sky. Others say it was buried beneath a ziggurat and is still humming, waiting. You tap your shard. No humming. Yet. A temple bell rings in the distance. Not for prayer this time, for washing. Even the gods prefer you clean before you beg for favors. You join a line at a nearby fountain, letting cool water run over your hands, your arms, your face. You splash a little on your stone for good measure. A woman behind you chuckles. "Cleansing your stars, are you?" "Just being thorough," you reply. She nods sagely, wise. Dust from heaven is still dust. And with that, the city begins to tip toward midday. Busier, louder, hungrier. But even with the sun overhead, the sky remains a central character in the story. Shopkeepers hang protective amulets, shaped like constellations above their doors. Farmers in from the fields tell stories of two moons, possibly just wine-related confusion. And everywhere, people glance upward, not in fear, but in familiarity. Because up there, that's not just the heavens. It's home turf. The air thickens with the dry buzz of insects and the smoky scent of roasting lentils. Noon has draped itself over the city like a damp wool blanket. Somewhere, a dog is losing an argument with a goat. You retreat from the heat, ducking into the colonnaded shadows of a public hall, where a group of scribes and scholars gather to escape both sunstroke and family obligations. They're crowded around a large tablet, flat, wide, and intricately carved with what looks like a star map, but also a recipe. No, wait, it's a riddle. Possibly both. Not everything carved in clay makes sense, one of the scholars mutters. Some tablets are puzzles we were never meant to solve. You get closer. The tablet shows constellations, recognizably Mesopotamian, but labeled with strange notations. One symbol repeats over and over, a triangle with 3 dots inside. "See that?" the scholar says, pointing. "They say it's the sign for hidden message from the sky." You arch an eyebrow. Is that the official translation? He shrugs, roughly. Could also mean no goats allowed. These things are flexible. He hands you a stylus and nods. Try tracing the lines between the stars, just for fun. You do. The path zigzags, curls back on itself, and eventually forms, oddly, a shape not unlike a reclining lion. With wings, holding what appears to be a cup. "Lugal Banda," one scribe says with reverence. "The Lion King, hero of Uruk, They say he's up there now, drinking the wine of the stars. You've read the epics. Lugalbanda was a warrior, a king, and eventually, some claim, a god. Others say he was the father of Gilgamesh, which is either incredibly impressive or just very good PR. Either way, some constellations in Mesopotamian sky lore were named after semi-divine kings and mythical beasts. Over time, the heavens became a museum of myth, each star a label for a story. But not all stories were noble. One scholar leans in. Some constellations were erased, he whispers. Deliberately. You frown. Why? Because their stories went wrong. Disgraced gods, cities that fell, omens that backfired. He taps the edge of the tablet. Look for the gaps. The blank spaces speak loudest. You stare at the map again, this time looking for absences. A gap between two major constellations. A swirl of empty sky where there should be a story. It feels like someone wiped part of the sky clean. Historians still argue, the scribe says, whether these erased stars were actual constellations or if they were symbolic removals, cultural edits, you might say, to the divine manuscript. You love this idea. Cosmic censorship. The gods, as editors, crossing out their own mistakes. Feeling a little overwhelmed by all the winged lions and hidden messages, you wander out of the hall and into a quieter lane, where the shadows are longer and the air smells faintly of tamarind and damp clay. Ahead, a familiar structure rises, the House of Dreams. That's not its official name, of course. It's a shrine to Ningal, goddess of dreams and night signs. A place where people go to sleep on mats of sacred rushes and hope to receive messages from the divine through dreams. A priest greets you at the threshold, looking for guidance or just a nap. Little of both, you admit. He smiles and leads you inside. The walls are painted with celestial patterns, moons, and stars in deep indigo hues. In one corner, a woman is recounting a dream to a priestess who scribbles notes on a tablet, while occasionally muttering things like interesting and concerning. You lie down on a mat and close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but to listen. You hear whispers, real ones, from those around you. I dreamed of a crow stealing the moon. I was walking backwards through water that flowed uphill. I saw a star fall into my rice bowl and turn into a fish. You open your eyes again. In this shrine, dreams are treated like starlight. Slippery, luminous, full of meaning. Ancient Mesopotamians believed dreams could carry messages from gods or glimpses of future events. There were dream interpreters, dream manuals, even dream amulets you could wear to filter out unhelpful dreams, like the one where you're late for temple because you forgot to wear pants. The priest brings you a small bowl of dream water infused with date nectar and lotus. He hands you a tablet fragment with a short inscription. To dream of stars is to be remembered by the gods. You tuck it into your sash. Night is still hours away, but you feel yourself leaning toward it already. As you walk out, the priest stops you. Remember, he says, the sky is not just above. It is within. You nod, not quite sure what that means, but it sounds good, so you go with it. A gentle wind carries you past the wall of the astrologer's garden. It's less garden and more herb jungle, with vines climbing up woven reed fences and strange birds yelling curses at the sky. Inside, two priestesses are preparing incense for nightfall. One holds a brass plate filled with finely ground minerals. The other drizzles honey onto a strip of papyrus. This one's for Nana, they explain. The moon god. He likes sweet smoke and honest intentions. You ask if the gods ever ignore the messages or get them wrong. Sometimes, one priestess says, sighing, the stars may be perfect, but we're not. The other adds, and some gods just have a sense of humor. Apparently, one lunar omen predicted that a rival city would fall within 3 days. That city ended up hosting a massive festival instead. When questioned, the astrologer reportedly said, I never said how it would fall. It fell into joy. Nice save. You help set the incense on a firestone and watch as it curls upward, a ribbon of scent twining into the sky. You can't help but wonder if the gods do read messages from Earth, smoke, dreams, prayers scrawled in rush ink. What do they do with them? Is there a divine archive? Do they group requests by urgency? Has someone up there been ignoring your messages because Mercury keeps flagging them as spam? You laugh at the thought. As the sun begins to dip toward the horizon, the city shifts. Merchants start packing up. Children are called inside. Lamps are lit with slow reverence. You head once more toward the ziggurat, not to climb it, but to watch it from a distance. It glows now, in the golden hour, like it's lit from within. And above it, the first stars return, blinking into view one by one. No fanfare, just presence. You remember the phrase from the dream house. To dream of stars is to be remembered by the gods. And tonight, you feel like maybe, just maybe, they remember you. The first full darkness of night folds over like a velvet curtain, embroidered with stars. You sit cross-legged on a rooftop, the mud bricks still warm beneath you. Your borrowed sky shard nestled beside a bowl of lentils and flatbread. Below, the city has softened. No more hammering bronze, no more shouting traders. Just the whisper of sandals on dust, the low hum of distant lyres, and the occasional bark of a dog who clearly has opinions about the moon. Tonight, the stars are out in force, and you're not alone in watching them. All around you, rooftops are dotted with figures like yourself, stargazers, priests, lovers, insomniacs, and one guy who seems to be yelling at Orion for stealing his donkey dreams. Standard rooftop fare. Across the lane, an old woman lifts a polished bowl of water toward the sky. You recognize the ritual. It's a sky mirror. She's not just watching the heavens. She's inviting them in. You crawl to the edge of the roof and peer over, curious. The water reflects the constellations with uncanny clarity, like the gods agreed to meet her halfway. She whispers something into the bowl, then pours a trickle out onto the street, an offering or a reply. You've heard about this practice. Some Mesopotamians used reflective water surfaces to capture star messages, interpreting ripples, clarity, and reflected shapes as signs. It was a blend of astronomy, divination, and poetic faith. Some even believed that certain stars only revealed their secrets through reflection. You wonder if your shard would shimmer in the bowl's surface. You almost climb down, but something halts you. A sound, a deep, slow beat, a drum. From the east, the temple gates are opening. Procession time. And tonight, it's not just for Nana the moon god. It's for the stars themselves. You'd almost forgotten. It's the night of the 12 lanterns, a festival rarely seen by outsiders. Most locals don't even mention it unless the timing is right. And this year, it is. The gates open wider, and out come the priests. 12 of them, each holding a lantern carved from stone, filled with whale oil and crowned with star-shaped flames. They walk in pairs, slow and silent, robes shimmering with crushed mica and ash-dyed wool. No chanting, no fanfare, just light and movement. Each lantern represents a fixed star. Or so they say. The temple priest steps into the courtyard. His headdress is impossibly tall, and you're pretty sure it's got tiny gold stars sewn into it. He lifts a bronze horn and lets out a single haunting note. The city freezes. People kneel, or bow, or just stop where they are. The priest speaks, voice low and echoing. The stars watch. The stars wait. The stars speak. He turns, and the procession begins. The 12 lantern bearers move toward the river. You climb down and follow at a respectful distance, joining the growing crowd of silent citizens. Along the way, people reach out, not to touch the priests, but to let the starlight brush their hands. It's said that being touched by one of the lanterns can bring clarity or courage, or, if you're unlucky, a prophetic dream that ruins your next 3 meals. At the riverbank, the procession halts. Each lantern is placed on a floating raft, reed bundles tied tight and wrapped in waxed linen. One by one, the lanterns are launched into the Euphrates. The current catches them gently, and soon 12 stars drift across the water, their light mirrored in the black ribbon of river. The priest raises both hands. He sings. The melody is unlike anything you've heard, a weaving of notes meant to mimic the turning of the constellations. It dips and rises, spirals and stills. Some notes shimmer like silver, others tremble like distant thunder. And then one by one, the lanterns extinguish. Not snuffed, not drowned. They vanish as if swallowed by some unseen force. People gasp, but no one moves. The priest lowers his arms. The message is received, he says. You don't know what it means. Neither does anyone else. That's the point. It's not about understanding. It's about participating, bearing witness. You find a spot to sit along the riverbank, near an old man eating dried figs and muttering calculations. What are you working on? You ask. He glances up. I'm trying to determine if the stars know they're being watched. You grin. That's one way to spend an evening. I've got time. He shrugs. My goat ran away with my calendar. Naturally. He pulls out a small clay tablet, scratched full of lines, dots, and a few angry doodles that look suspiciously like constellations with mustaches. I'm mapping what I call the hidden 13th. It's a theoretical constellation that only appears when you're not looking at it. You're not sure if he's brilliant or just deeply sleep-deprived. Still, you listen. He tells you that Mesopotamian astronomers tracked dozens of constellations, many with names and meanings that shifted across centuries. Some were inherited from Sumer, others modified by Akkadians or later Babylonians. But there were always whispers, rumors of unlisted stars, rogue constellations that appeared during eclipses or after blood-red moonrises. The stars, it seems, were as political as anything else. Recorded, deleted, fought over. Historians still argue, he adds, whether the ancient star lists were purely astronomical or embedded with secret codes for royal succession, temple rituals, or even encoded prophecies. You tilt your head. So you think there are messages in the patterns? I think, he says, biting a fig in half, there are messages in everything. But stars? They're the only messengers that don't lie. You're not sure about that. You've seen Orion smirking. Still, it's a comforting thought. The wind shifts. A cooler breeze floats in from the north, brushing the reeds along the shore. The crowd begins to disperse, slow and quiet, as if afraid to wake the river. Some folks head to temple, others to sleep. A few stay behind, eyes fixed upward, waiting to see if any new stars blink into existence. You stay too. You take the sky shard from your pouch and dip it briefly into the river, just enough to let it catch the reflection of the now lanternless sky. For a moment, the water goes still, and in that stillness, the shard glows again. Not bright, not dramatic, just a soft thrum, like a heartbeat. You feel it, not just in your hand, but somewhere deeper, as if something has acknowledged you, not with words, but with presence. And tonight, that's enough. You wake slowly, as if surfacing from beneath a thick velvet river. The rooftop is cool now, the bricks holding only the memory of yesterday's heat. Dawn paints the eastern sky with streaks of pomegranate and ochre. Somewhere, a rooster crows like he's auditioning for a role he was never trained for. Your body aches a little. Roof naps aren't known for orthopedic excellence, but your mind is still caught in the net of last night. The shard in your pocket is warm again. Or maybe it's just your hand. You rise, stretch, and peer down into the city. Below, vendors are setting up with the usual combination of efficiency and audible groaning. Somewhere, an apprentice knocks over a stack of dried fish and receives a cuneiform lecture from his master. Another day in But you're not heading for the markets today. You've heard whispers, literal ones, of a strange stone buried in the desert beyond the walls. Not a ziggurat, not a temple. Something older, something wrong. They call it the sleeping eye. You pack lightly, a bit of bread, water in a goatskin, and the shard, just in case. The guards at the city gate are half asleep themselves. One waves you through without so much as a "don't die." You take that as encouragement. The desert beyond is not endless, but it pretends to be. Low hills undulate like the backs of ancient beasts. Scattered tamarisks provide the barest hint of shade. Lizards skitter like living punctuation marks. Your sandals fill with sand immediately. You try not to take it personally. Hours pass. Just as your resolve is beginning to crisp like a sun-baked barley cracker, you spot it, half buried in a dune, the edge of something unnatural, smooth, curved, not stone exactly, and not brick either. You dig cautiously, brushing away centuries with your fingers. There it is, the sleeping eye, a perfectly round disc, carved from what looks like blackened alabaster, or possibly obsidian, but warmer somehow, almost like old bone. It's about the size of a shield, inscribed with a circular pattern of stars you don't recognize. No writing, no symbols, just dots, hundreds of them. You press your hand to its center. Nothing happens, which is somehow more unnerving than if something had. You sit beside it, catching your breath, letting your heart slow. The silence here is vast. Not just the absence of noise, but the kind of silence that feels intentional, like someone pressed pause on the world. You glance up, the sky's a flat, hard blue. No stars in sight. You whisper, "What are you?" And you swear, for just a moment the disk hums. You lie back in the sand, eyes half closed, letting the sun blur your thoughts. You dream of stars falling like rain, of a ziggurat that stretches into the sky forever, its stairs made of crystal and honey, of a man with a lion's face who hands you a bowl of stars and says, "Drink deeply." You're running out of time. You wake gasping. The shard is glowing in your pouch. Again, you press it to the disk, and this time, something shifts. A line of the star dots begins to glow faintly, tracing a pattern like a river winding through the night. Your breath catches. It's a constellation, not one you recognize, but undeniably intentional. You think of the Mad Fig Man and his hidden 13th. Maybe it's this. Maybe this is it. And suddenly, it all clicks. The shard isn't a fragment of something larger. It's a key. And this disk? A star map. Or possibly a lock. Or both. You laugh, a little giddy. Historians still argue, you mutter aloud, whether artifacts like this were religious tools, astronomical devices, or something stranger entirely. You touch the glowing line again. It pulses, then fades. You sit there a long time, until the sun begins its slow fall toward evening. Eventually, you bury the disk again, carefully, reverently, not to hide it, but to return it. The desert has kept it this long. You trust it a little more now. The walk back is quieter, not because of exhaustion, but because something in you has settled. A knot you didn't realize was there has slowly come undone. By the time you reach Ur's gates, the city is alive again. Children laughing, merchants calling, drummers warming up for the evening celebrations. You're offered a fig. You accept. And then you spot the scribes again, back in their hall, hunched over another tablet. This one is cracked nearly in half and covered in mud. One beckons you over, grinning. We found something strange. You peer at the tablet. It's another star chart, but unlike any you've seen. Instead of neat constellations, it shows a spiral. Stars arranged like a whirlpool, dragging the eye toward a dark center. At its core, the same triangle with 3 dot symbol you saw days ago. That again? You say? Oh yes, the scribe chuckles. We're starting to think it wasn't just symbolic. We believe it marked celestial events, sudden changes, disappearances. Disappearances? Of stars, or knowledge, or kings. Hard to say. These things are flexible. Another scholar leans in. They say the spiral constellation only appears once every few thousand years. You blink. And how close are we to its return? He grins, far too cheerfully. No idea. You sit with them a while longer, tracing patterns, swapping jokes, and debating whether constellations are real or just divine connect the dots. One scribe insists that the stars were always there, waiting for humans to give them meaning. Another argues that the stars created us just so someone would finally look up. You sip tea made from starlight flowers, delicate blossoms said to only open under moonlight. A woman across the room hums a lullaby to her son, cradling him beneath a painted ceiling of constellations. She points at each one in turn. That's the farmer's plow. That's the fish of rivers. And that one, that's the silent bell. He asks what it means. She pauses. That you don't always have to make noise to be heard. You smile at that. And now, as night returns, you head for the ziggurat once more. Not to ask, not to listen, but to watch. From the top tier, the stars seem closer tonight. You lie on your back, shard in your palm, and watch them wheel above. You don't need answers. Not tonight. Just presence, just stars, just stories waiting to be found. The wind at the ziggurat's summit tastes different tonight, cooler, drier, as if it has wandered in from the edge of time. You're stretched out on your back again, the shard resting lightly on your chest like a sleeping animal. Below, the city sighs itself into night. Pots being washed, doors creaking shut, the occasional giggle from a courtyard where someone's had too much date wine. Above you, the sky is more than a ceiling. It's a moving, living map. And tonight, something new has arrived. There, just above the horizon, glinting with an unfamiliar sharpness, is a star that wasn't there before. You blink once, twice. No, it's definitely not your imagination. It's piercing, pale blue, and just there, watching. You're not the only one who sees it. Below, a ripple of movement spreads across the rooftop city. People pointing, climbing stairs, murmuring in awe or suspicion. An old priest down by the river drops his incense burner mid-ritual. A dog barks at the sky and promptly runs in the other direction. You sit up slowly, eyes locked on the new arrival. The shard pulses in your hand, not a glow, a rhythm. You count it. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, pause. It's beating like a heart or a drum. You head down the ziggurat, your sandals echoing against the bricks. As you descend, you notice something strange. People are coming up too. Lots of them. Silent. Purposeful. Some carry scrolls. Others bear bowls of water, polished stones, or what look like old star maps stitched into linen. It's as if some invisible call has gone out, and they're answering. You slip into the crowd. No one speaks. They don't need to. At the very top, the high priest stands beneath the new star, his silver headdress gleaming. He doesn't speak either. Instead, he lifts both hands, palms outward. It's a gesture not of command, but of offering. You do the same. So do the others. And then the star moves. It doesn't streak across the sky like a comet, or wobble like a planet playing tricks. It glides. Slow. Deliberate. Like it knows it's being watched. Historians still argue. You whisper to no one, whether ancient peoples tracked actual star movements or simply interpreted them into stories. They say Mesopotamians could predict eclipses, track planetary alignments, even map retrogrades. But this is different. This star has intent. The priest turns slowly, facing the east. Behind him, torches flare along the ziggurat's edge, lighting up carved stone panels you'd missed before. Old, weathered, yet still legible. Each one shows a star above a figure, a scribe, a farmer, a priestess, a child. The final panel shows you, not literally, but close enough, an unnamed traveler sitting at the top of a staircase, holding a star in their hand. You step forward without thinking. The crowd parts for you. You don't ask why. You don't want to break the spell. The priest nods. Not in greeting. In recognition, he steps aside. And then you're standing at the very edge, face tilted to the sky, the new star directly overhead. The shard in your hand is humming now, fast, sharp, electric. You raise it instinctively. It flares once, then dissolves into tiny points of light, like a dandelion scattered by the wind. You gasp, but no one panics. They've seen it before. Or maybe they were waiting for you to do it. In the silence that follows, a memory stirs. A tablet, dusty and half buried, with a single line carved into its surface. When the traveler returns the key, the sky will open again. Is this what they meant? The star above you pulses once, blue, then white, then deep gold. You feel it in your bones, and suddenly, it's everywhere. Not just above you, but in you. You see flashes, not visions, not dreams, memories that aren't yours. A procession of masked priests crossing a river of stars. A city made of black stone, built beneath twin suns. A tower so tall its tip burns with cosmic fire, the constellations carved into every brick. And then, silence. Total, absolute silence. And the feeling of being watched back. You come to, slumped on the ground, heart racing. The crowd is gone. The priest is gone. The torches are out. You're alone, or so it seems. A shadow moves beside you, not threatening, not quite there. A whisper follows it. Now you know. You look up. The star is gone. The sky is as it was before. No proof, no evidence. Just the taste of electricity on your tongue and a phantom beat echoing in your palm. You make your way down, the silence of the city somehow deeper, like it's holding its breath. You wander back to the tablet hall. The scribes are still there, though their chatter has softened. One of them raises an eyebrow when he sees you. You felt it, didn't you? You nod. He sighs. Every few generations. Same place. Same star. What is it? No one knows. Not really. Some say it's a god watching for a worthy storyteller. Others say it's a mistake in the sky. Another scribe chimes in. Personally, I think it's a question. One we're supposed to keep asking. You sit with them for a while. They show you an old tablet, a broken thing, but still legible. On it, a phrase scratched in haste. He who sees the wandering star must never stop looking, and you don't plan to. That night, you return to your rooftop, tired, but changed. The city sleeps below you. The stars, ordinary again, glitter like spilled sugar on black silk. You close your eyes, and for the first time in a while, sleep finds you easily. Your dreams are quiet, but your heart, still beating like a distant drum. The days that follow are ordinary, painfully, comically ordinary. You spend one morning arguing with a merchant over the price of figs. Again, you help an elderly woman repair a broken clay water jug using bitumen and muttered curses. You lose a sandal in a muddy canal and are forced to limp home, one foot slapping audibly against hot cobblestone, while 3 children laugh and imitate you like little demons. There are no more strange pulses from the sky, no glowing shards, no secret visions carved into starlight, and yet you can't unsee it. That new star, if that's even what it was, changed something, not just in the sky, in you. At first, you check the heavens obsessively. Every dusk, you climb back up the ziggurat and scan the horizon. You learn the names of all the known constellations, those mapped long ago by scholars and priests. The plow, the goatfish, the wild bull, the scorpion. But none of them move. Nothing pulses. Nothing speaks. You find yourself wondering, maybe that's the point. Maybe the sky doesn't always need to shout to be sacred. One evening, you sit beside an old astronomer who chews tamarind and talks to his cat like it's his apprentice. The stars don't owe us anything, he tells you, scratching behind the cat's ears. They just are. We're the ones who beg them for signs. You ask if he believes they ever answer. He chuckles. Sometimes, but only in riddles. You tell him what happened. Well, parts of it. Enough to make him raise one eyebrow. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't question you. He just nods. You should write it down, he says. You blink. What? Your story. All of it. Even the weird parts. Especially the weird parts. One day, someone else might need it. You glance at the city. People move like ants below. Busy, loud, tethered to earth. But maybe one of them, someday, will look up and see something they can't explain.